Mental Training 101 on 105.5 The Roar. And now back to Get Warrior Tough with Andrew Wittman.
Bringing the thunder in the saddle. Leadership and mental toughness coaches Andrew Wittman and Harold Dutch Coleman. All right, Dutch, we left off right before the break talking about the difference between just training and coaching and mentoring. And I know you've done a lot of mentoring. You still do a lot of mentoring and a lot of coaching. What is your take on that, what I just said? For me, there's a huge difference between just training and then having the coaching and mentoring piece, and I think that it's a huge disconnect. And out there we go, oh, there's corporate training, and I think that is almost a waste of time without the coaching and mentoring piece, without the feedback loop. You tell me your thoughts on that, brother.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, because that's what when we're paralleling athletics, that's what athletics do. They do the training. They do that preseason training, but then they're with them all year. They're coaching them daily. And I think that's the piece that corporations miss if they want to look at themselves like an athletic organization that's in a game, that's in a fight to win, in a competition to win. Well, not only are you getting that initial training where I'm teaching you how to do the job I need you to do, I'm coaching you every day. We're showing up. We're doing things that are keeping you mentally sharp, mentally focused. We're teaching you the newest and greatest techniques all the time, and we're following up. You have access to the coaches on a daily basis. You can call the coach up at night, ask him some input on how am I performing, what am I doing, what do you see out there, coach? You know, you have that coaching impact 24/7, at least the access.
Right.
And that's the separation that corporations don't have when you're talking about paralleling yourselves with an athletic organization.
Right, and we do the same thing in the warrior culture. We call it an after-action report, right? So everything that we do the hot wash, right? The hot wash is right after we're done. We don't even leave till we figure out what's going on. Then we do the after-action report where we go back and we let it cool off some, and then we debrief again. What did we like about that? What could we do different? And in corporations, it's like, and I see this with business owners, executives, managers. It's like, man, they can't. As soon as they get out, they're fried. Their brains are just like they're decompressing. It's just been a rough day at work. They feel like they've been in the washing machine of life, and so they don't coach their folks, and they don't get the coaching up or down the chain of command. They're just trying to survive and put out a fire, man. And as you stay in that mode, you never get away from that. It's like you're like the hamster on the wheel. I mean, you literally never get away from it. You're on a treadmill.
Well, that's one of the things. You just hit another thing. The people who are responsible for getting their people coaching need coaching themselves. So they end up being a statistic as far as somebody who's just trying to check a box. Let me just get my guys some training because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm told I'm supposed to do. It's one of the functions. But why are you doing it? What are you trying to get? Because when you start asking your question, why am I doing this training? What am I after for my employees? And you figure out what that target is, that's when it's revealed that, hey, I need much more than this. If I want to be the best, if I want to be better, if I want to compete with the best in the world, I'm going to have this coaching. I'm going to have this continuous training, because that's what coaching is. It's continuous training. It's continuous evaluation. It's continuous improvement. All those things come with coaching. And the people who are responsible for that, they need coaches themselves. Again, they become a statistic of somebody who's just trying to get by, just trying to get to the next day, just like their employees were trying to get to the next day, where management can fall in that same rut. So you need it, like you said, all the way up the chain of command. You need that coaching.
Right, and then I just want to key off of something that you just said. And I had the vice president of an organization, the vice president of sales. They brought me in. They wanted to just do a half a day. And I was like, I really can't do much in a half a day, And she's like, well, we don't really even care about that. We know you're not going to change anybody, and no one's going to change. We just want to tell them, to have them, like you said, check the box and say, hey, we gave you training, so what are you crying about? We gave it to you. And then there was like, I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. That you're just checking the box. You're just saying, well, you can't complain that we didn't give you any, tools, because here they are. We gave you 3 hours, and then expect like their sales to go up. And it's just, I look at this stuff and it's mind blowing. And then we wonder why employees disengage, because they don't think they can make a difference because their bosses are just like going through the motions themselves.
Yeah, and they realize that the problem is bigger than them. And one thing you don't ever want to do is have the troops on the ground losing confidence in the leadership, because then it gets exponentially worse. It's one thing when you have a commander that has troops that are disengaged, but when the troops realize that the commander's disengaged, that could be catastrophic.
It is catastrophic.
Catastrophic. It is amazing that we have these organizations functioning in this capacity, but we do, and that's why we get the economy that we do. That's why we get the questions about how we're doing as a nation.
Yep.
You get these numbers like you have, the statistics on employees and their engagement. That's how you end up with all those things, because we are walking and living every day as organizations, as corporations, with this type of culture.
Right, and now you brought that up. I'm going to just jump on it since we're right here. Okay, all right. So here's a study. There was the Conference Board, which is it's a well-respected nonprofit research organization. They took 12 major studies on employee engagement, and then they aggregated the stats. And so here's some of the stats, Dutch, that less than 20% of employees in this country are highly engaged, and highly engaged was defined as they're loyal to the company. They consistently produce high levels of quantity and quality work. They take initiative and they take ownership and responsibility, and they solve problems. Less than 20%.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they said 40%, give or take, are moderately engaged. They do perform to standard, but they don't do anything extra. They're not looking to do anything extra. And then the other 40% are either skeptical or disengaged, and they have little commitment. They do just enough not to get fired, and in some cases, the disengaged are actually doing sabotage work. They're undercutting with negativity and just trying to. They'll look for, and I think those numbers are higher, but where people will, argue with the boss or look for the way out and just figure out a way not to. They'll spend 4 hours trying not to do a 7-minute job.
Well, it is higher, because if you take the 40% that are disengaged,
mm-hmm.
then you take that next group of 40%, which were moderately. So moderately means they're probably switching back and forth daily. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. So at certain times, you can have 50, 60% disengaged. That's more than half your organization disengaged, and then there might be a day or two where they feel engaged, so then it's back down to 50.
Right. So and people do go on that cycle where they'll engage, and I do this with personal training clients. They'll do good for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they fall off the wagon, and I won't hear from them again for 6 months or whatever, and then they want to come back, and so I get that whole thing. Now listen to these stats, okay? This is off that same study that they said the companies where the employees that were consistently engaged, 60 to 70% of the employees were consistently engaged. The average total shareholder return was at 24.2%. Now, just that doesn't mean anything until you see this next stat. Companies where 49 to 60% of employees were consistently engaged. So from 60 to 70% to 49 to 60%. It falls off. The shareholder return falls down to 9.1%.
Wow.
And the companies that go below that engagement level, they're in negative territory. So, that 49 number of 49% of my employees are consistently engaged or not. And you said sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. And it goes directly to the shareholder's return. It's just mind-blowing to me, man.
Yeah, we're talking bottom line. We're talking real dollars going out the window, and that's where it should catch the leadership's eye. When they see that this is your money, this is your shareholders' money going out the window, which otherwise could be going in somebody's pocket. That's when you need to step up. At the very latest, you need to step up when you hear that. Early on, when you don't have all the information, you just hear us talking. That's one thing. But when you get statistics that tell you there's real money going out the window,
right,
then you better act.
You should. And it says that the executive board members found that employees that have lower engagement are 4 times more likely to leave their jobs. And and here's the numbers on that. Here's the numbers. 48% of all employees polled are actively seeking new jobs.
And we know that's true because a lot of us listening are actively seeking
new jobs, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're an executive, if you're in management, here's the number one way. Here's the number one way that this study found out to get employees engaged. Training plus coaching and mentoring. Not just one of them, but all 3. Training plus coaching and mentoring.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, training plus coaching plus mentoring. And that's why at Get Warrior Tough, we don't just do training. We're consultants, man. We're coaches. We come in and we will stay with you in the trenches, shoulder to shoulder, until what we actually do. This is really what Dutch and I do, is we coach the coaches so that we'll set your coaches up, your mentors up inside your company. We'll coach them and teach them how to coach all the rest of your employees in perpetuity. And then we could act as mentors or coaches to your coaches, man.
Yes, and it's a great system. Because what you're doing is you're teaching the teachers, and you're constantly teaching the teachers. And that's the thing. You don't want to just teach the teachers and then leave, because things change every day.
Every day.
Developments. There are new studies. There's new information. There are new practices. So you can't just come in, do something, and feel rosy about it, because the moment that the initial coach or trainer leaves, things have changed. You know, think about, again, athletics. The next day, everything's changed.
It's all changed, man.
Yeah. So you got to have that continuous coaching. You got to have that hands-on. You got to have that access always.
Right, and that's how people stay engaged. And it also adds a layer of accountability, because if I know a coach or a mentor is going to ask me, and just from the athletics point of view, let me see your food log, let me see your exercise log, let me see your sleep log, how much sleep and food, you know, your nutrition, what did you get this week? Let me see what you're doing in the gym. Let me see what you're doing in the car. You know, there's accountability, knowing that, hey, you know, someone's going to be checking on me on this, and so you stay engaged because you know, it's just like when you were in school, you knew, tests or papers were coming up, you stayed engaged because you had to make the grade. If you don't have to make the grade and you're auditing the course, this is funny because there's these things called massive open online courses. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
The MOOCs. Okay, so I take them, man. The statistics are staggering of the people that take the first one or two and then drop off. It's like almost 95% of people won't finish the course when they audit it. Even though it's free, it's Harvard, it's Yale, it's Princeton, you could literally get an Ivy League education for free, but because it's auditing and you don't get the diploma or the grade, there's no accountability, people drop off like massively, like 95% gone.
Yep. And that's real life. I mean, this information is out there. This is not just us. This is some real stuff. And if you want to get better, if you want to improve, you got to pay attention to the information that's being provided, the data that's out there, because those are the things that's going to help you get to the next level. And then you got to do, as we always say, you got to act. You got to act.
You got to, because if you're not acting, and these are great ideas, but and you and I are both men of action. We are doers, and so we rubber meets the road. We got to get out of the starting block. Give us a call at the office at 864-977-1443. That's 864-977-1443, and we will help you get you started on the path. And people are like, well, I don't know if I can afford it. You can't afford not to. You can't afford not to, because this is what happens. There's so many companies. There was a company called Circuit City that was in the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. It was a business. Hey, this company went from good to great. Where's Circuit City now, Dutch?
I was looking for it the other day. I hadn't seen one anywhere in years.
Yeah, that they believed their own press. They camped out and they rested on their laurels, and they stopped with the coaching and the mentoring. And things change, just like Dutch said. Things change, and in this global economy, things change on a dime, Dutch.
And the thing that always gets me, because I was one of those people. I'm very practical, a very frugal person. So I'm the first one that says, hey, I can't afford this. But when you're a very practical and frugal person, it's not what you can't afford to do. It's not only what you can't afford to do. It also is what you can't afford not to do. Mm. So because what you're doing is, when you're frugal, you're looking at value. You're not just looking at the dollars, the raw dollars. A frugal person is not afraid to spend. A frugal person is afraid to waste.
Right.
The spending. So when you start looking at the value for your money, that's when you start saying, okay, I'm going to spend my money on that, but I'm not going to spend my money on that. So then that's where you get the whole idea. So when I look at something like Warrior Tough, and roughly you're spending, $5 a business day.
Right.
Per month. So and that's a 4-week month, because if it's 5 weeks in a month, then you're getting less than, it's cost you less than that per day. But if you look at what your business does per day, per employee, and you're talking about adding a tax of yourself for $5 for that business day, that's less than $1 an hour. And when you talk about the efficiency that you're going to come up with, the production, the attitude, the health benefits of it, the things that go into the other parts of your life, professional relationships as well as personal relationships, your mental health and all of that, you're getting all that for a lot of times less than $1 a business day in your business life.
Right.
And again, you're paying less than $1 a day in your business life to affect your entire life.
Yeah, then it's like less than a cup of gas station coffee, man. You can't even get gas station coffee for that, dude. I mean, seriously. And when you look at it, yeah, I like to think it's like the cost of a pizza a week. It really is literally a cost of a pizza a week. And people, and it's not even a tip. It's ridiculous. It's nothing compared to the benefits, like you said, the health benefits. We haven't even talked about. And as you get into this, you see when you get a hold of stress in your life and you control it, and it doesn't control you. There's enormous health benefits for that. Hey, Dutch, we got to take a break, and when we get back, we'll pick up with some of the other things that have been happening in the world this past week. All right?
Yes, sir.
80% of all doctor visits are stress-related. 80% of tension headaches are caused by stress. Most heart attacks occur around 9 a.m. on Monday. Stress is a major factor of anxiety, panic attacks, depression, and aggression, not to mention insomnia. And an estimated 24 million Americans use drugs to cope with stress. Depressing, isn't it? You're meant to live a happy, fulfilled life, and it is possible. Andrew Wittman can show you the way out. The way to deal with stress, to achieve, to break through limitations, and have an internal identity that calms the storm. Whether it's work or home, financial or emotional, get the tools you need to cope with the obstacles life brings you and still have peace. Mental training one-on-one will help you get what you want out of life. Visit GetWarriorTough.com to see testimonials from people just like you. Take control of stress. GetWarriorTough.com.